Hi guys, welcome back. And we're on to the last segment of our presentation. Now I'm going to delve a bit more into impromptu speaking because like I said, I wanted to focus on that because I think most of the audience will be more receptive and it's more applicable in their everyday life. Now, impromptu speaking, first of all, one definition is a speech made, done, or formed on, or is in a spur of the moment. Now, many times we have many spur of the moment situations. You could be at your desk and your boss comes to you and say, hey, we need to have a quick meeting. Let's do a quick huddle so we can make a quick presentation on a matter. It could be basically based on sales for the last week or the last month, or it could basically be purchasing of a particularly new business or looking to get into a certain investment. And the thing about it is, on the spur of the moment, you may not have had time to prepare the night before. But of course, because you should be familiar with the project or the issue at hand, you have to be able to make a presentation. So we're going to look at what we can do to ensure that we nail that. Another definition is a speech composed or uttered without previous preparation. So of course, you can see that impromptu speaking happens at the spur of the moment. Now, three examples that we look at is job interviews. You can have a toast at an event or interview by a reporter or media personnel. Now, in these kind of settings, having certain tricks up your sleeve will help you. So, for example, on a job interview, like I would have said previously in the other segments, you must have confidence. Now, you must have this aura when you enter into a room, whether it's a job interview or a meeting, that, hey, I'm going to wow you today. In my personal life or in my professional life, that is what I work on. It's like when I enter the room, because for example, I'm vertically challenged, so persons will look at me and say, all right, he might not have much to say. I can't compete with a 6 foot person. But guess what? What I have to say or the information that I have and the way that I deliver it can make me seem like a 6'5" person. And that's the kind of confidence you need to exude as a speaker. So once you get in, regardless of what it is, go in with confidence. When you're greeted, you say good morning, sir, or good morning, ma'am. How are you today? I'm ready to do this. And of course, once you come with that energy, not overconfidence, but enough confidence to have the interview to say, hey, I'm going to look to enjoy this interview today, you will be successful. As the interview proceeds and the person asks you to tell them about themselves, you don't have to go too deep. You can decide to yourself beforehand that, hey, I'm going to just speak about maybe 3 points. They may then ask you to maybe go deeper about something that matters to you. You may not have prepared efficiently for that question, but of course, as persons that are knowledgeable of exactly what matters most to them, you could pick an event like a family event or an event that happened even at your church or even at your local group that you're part of that you could use to basically help to edify the type of persona that you have. As a speaker, as you have to speak on the spur of a moment, you must always be thinking a step ahead. Have reference points, and that will help you right along. Even if you're asked a question, and some persons do not understand the importance of a pause. You may be asked a question, take a time and think. You're not basically judged on how fast you respond to a question, but you are judged based on the content and the quality of your response. So it's always good as well when asked a question and you're not sure of it. You take a minute, say, give me 1 minute, or you take a minute to yourself and pause, think about it quickly, then you begin to answer. As you begin to answer, as I referred to tip one, you must have structure. Let's say, for example, the person asked you in an interview to say, all right, please demonstrate to us a previous event where you'd have utilized your skills to reduce costs in OPEX by, let's say, 10%. The question is posed to you. You may or may not have had that experience. If you had that experience, you just have to think about one particular one. It may have been more than 15%. But of course, when you are responding, you use the sandwich rule. Introduction, the body, the conclusion. So you may then say, as an introduction, for example, Sir, I've had a vast experience in cost reduction exercises. And I'm going to just tell you about one of them, and I'm sure you'll definitely agree with me. That's the introduction. In your body, you're going to then explain how you went about cost reduction. Is the case that you changed suppliers, or is it the case that you were able to find cost reduction strategies by buying cheaper material, or maybe buying things in bulk, or maybe changing where you stored it, whatever it may be. You recognize that making whatever changes caused cost reductions over the financial year by 10%. And then you conclude by saying that because of your knowledge, because of your vast understanding of how to do cost reductions, you know that you can utilize the skill within a particular workplace. So right there and then, you've used the hamburger concept to basically wow your interviewer, or basically wow whoever you're speaking to, so that they know for a fact that you are knowledgeable of it. If you are being interviewed by reporting, of course, many times if persons are on national media, it could be by ABS News or maybe over the radio. It's a case where, depending on the type of setting that you're in, you have to be able to utilize certain skills. So for example, if you're in front of a live camera, I always say your body speaks as well. So if you're going to tell somebody, well, I'm excited to be here, and you're just like this, well, I'm excited to be here, and I can hardly wait for this conference to start, and I know it's going to be great. You're saying it with your lips, but your body's saying something completely different. Now, if you're on the radio and you said that, persons who are listening, because they don't have the opportunity to see you, they say, all right, he sounds pretty excited to be there. But if you're on live television and your body's like this, then persons are like, nah, he doesn't seem that excited to be here. So automatically, you as an individual, your whole body needs to show that excitement. I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to the conference. I know it's going to be great for information purposes and further development. So once you're able to speak with that level of excitement, show that in your body that you're excited, persons will definitely believe what you're saying. Another example, of course, a big one, is giving toast. Now, I'm sure many of you have been at graduations or weddings, and persons have to give a toast and they're struggling for words. Some people don't even understand the correct format to give a toast. It's always important, first of all, to grab the attention of everyone. And persons, of course, when you're going to raise your glass and give a toast, prior to raising the glass, you have to make the toast, and then you raise the glass at the end. And things like that, you practice, or even not sure, you can always look on YouTube and so on and get that information. But it's important that when you're making a toast, that you're going to say something that is acceptable. You don't want to be too vulgar at certain settings, especially if the person is intoxicated or not. You just never know. It's important to have certain levels of control. But of course, once you're given the toast, you have to be clear. Your body must show excitement, and it's fine to give humor, because usually in those settings, adding elements of humor, especially if you can think of an event that was funny in the past, will help to make the toast even more memorable. So these are the different ways that you can use speaking in an impromptu setting that will help you to be a cut above the rest. And it's always good to keep practicing, because even if you never know what event is coming up, even if you know an event is coming up, you can say, all right, just in case I'm asked the question, or just in case I'm put on the spot, let me have some reference material, and you always keep those in your mind. Another improvement tip is that all speakers should read books, and I emphatically state, Facebook is not a book. All right, be sure to read proper articles, read about different things. It could be a novel, it could be a magazine, whatever it is, try your best on a daily basis. Because just as if we have time to WhatsApp people or maybe check out the latest gossip, take the time to read a newspaper, take the time to read an article, learn something, because guess what? It will help you to have reference material that you can always say, hey, I remember reading about a certain subject matter. For example, SIDS just recently concluded. If somebody asks you straight out, but hey, what you thought about the SIDS conference that just happened? If you're not somebody that was really paying attention or even took the time to even know what SIDS even meant, you're not even in a position to answer. So it's very, very important that you read about it and that you understand it so that you can say, hey, the whole conference was great. And it's only for 10 years. I remember when I was reading about it and I realized the conference that came about every 10 years. I was surprised because I said to myself, I was thinking something of this nature would happen more frequently. But for whatever reason, it's 10 years. But these are things that you know only when you read up on something, especially when it's happening in your neck of the woods. So those are the kind of things that you have to do as well. Another tip that I would say is to practice speaking as often as possible. Now, you don't want to say you want to hug the room or be the most vocal out there, regardless of what the setting is. But take the time to practice. So you can say, grab your brother, grab your sister or your significant other and say, hey, I want to practice something with you. Right? You may notice in a certain setting, you may get a little nervous if you have to speak about a certain matter. Your words don't come out clearly. Practice with someone. Even as you practice, even if you don't have someone to help you, another tip is you can record your speech and then listen to it again and then make changes along the way. Because that way, as you practice, you listen to yourself, you listen to your recordings, you're able to get more fluent and fluent until persons wonder if you're reading from a script all of the time. And finally, another tip is ask someone to provide constructive criticism. And it could be anybody, because at the end of the day, it's not all the time we get to speak to professionals. It could be just a regular person who just wants to hear something. So once you know persons that can give constructive criticism, reach out to them, have them hear it and say, all right, I'm going to this event or I'm doing this thing. Give a kind listen to it, let me know what you thought. And then based on their level of feedback, then you utilize it to get better and better over time. Speaking is like a muscle, and just like we exercise to get fit or to get strong, of course, for many persons, carnival coming up and persons are going to try and get their summer bodies right. Similarly with speaking, you have to practice. You have to continuously practice. And once you do it, you will develop. I like to leave with this point. A good speech is like a pencil. It must have a point. At the end of the day, that's why we speak. There is a reason why we speak, and it must have a point. So thank you so much, guys, for listening, and I hope that at the end of this, that you've definitely learned something. So get on out there, put these nuggets into practice, and be awesome, be impressive, be great. Thank you so much for listening.